Greetings, students, and welcome to our last week, week 15, where we reflect on search, landscape, and pretty much everything. So our agenda for this week is pretty simple. We'll look back at our learning, our text, and we'll come to some notion of what it means as a whole. And in order to do that more effectively, I'm going to ask you to do a little thinking. I'd like you to draw a picture, a schema of what the world of search looks like to you. You could do that in a couple of different ways. You could either draw a picture of the way the world of search looks like to you, or consider a metaphor, an extended metaphor. In either case, see if you can place yourself somewhere either in that metaphor or that image. I am not looking for works of art. I just want to see your thinking and see what you've developed as your own notion of the landscape of the information world. We will be also touring your projects in a gallery walk. I had a nice chat with Karen Markey, who wrote one of our texts. And I'm also going to ask you in general to reflect on our course, your learning, and remind you, if you haven't yet, to fill out the SIRS survey evaluation for our course. So you remember this slide probably from earlier in the semester, and as we went through our course, I realized how true it was that you are all going in different directions. And so it was my hope that this course presented a little something for everyone while we couldn't focus specifically on any one area of the information world for any really long period of time. And I hope you also saw that this is a huge elephant, that in some cases we just touched it and didn't dig very deep or look very closely. And I'm hoping that in your other classes, and also as you get on the job, you will get a very specific expertise in an arena that is your own niche. So we looked at the big elephant, but we didn't really study any particular part of him, and we couldn't in any really serious depth. We only began to peel the onion. I'm kind of modeling metaphors for you here, so you might be inspired. But you can see how many layers there are as we started peeling, and how interesting and juicy it might be. And then I'm hoping also that as we move through the course, you kept adding tools to that toolkit of yours. I'm hoping that they weren't already all there, and that we introduced some new ideas and resources that you'll find of value. This evolution of the desk that was created by Harvard Innovation Lab describes some of the changes we've experienced in a very short time that have to do largely with the information landscape. As I show this, think about what it is that you're seeing move away from the desk and onto the user's personal screen as either an app or a web-based tool. Think back to a couple of things I asked you to think about at the beginning of the semester. What are your thoughts or your revised thoughts on Roy Tennant's quote that is often quoted by librarians? Only librarians like to search, everyone else likes to find. After spending an entire semester searching intensively, do you like to search more? Or are you fed up and want to be just like everyone else? What I saw in your enthusiasm for search is there is something in many of your DNA that propels you into this kind of detective work and propels you to find the best or the most relevant or the most credible. We talked all about evaluation as well. And so it's important, as I tried to emphasize throughout, that we think about the personas that we serve. And I very intentionally put these specific characters there because in my mind, as I'm working with students and you and clients and others over the course of my career, I'm always thinking, what would that little girl be thinking? What about that woman and her frustration, or that patient and his serious information need? And sometimes I give these people names, as I hope that you would do for your assignment too. So I'm hoping that that thing sticks, and I'm hoping that you visualize the user, their need to find, and all the other various needs and feelings and dispositions that users face as we work with them, whether we can see them face to face or not. I'm hoping that some of the voices of search that we encountered will continue to inspire you and perhaps make you look at our profession in terms of, again, that onion and its layers, or the various different approaches to the information professions. I'm hoping to grow this anthology, so this YouTube playlist should grow as I continue to teach the course. So come back and visit. Like much of what I have up outside of the learning management system, the stuff should continue to be available. A book by John Palfrey, who he imagines the future of libraries and the library profession. And there were two quotes in that book, and I don't have page numbers because I had the audio, but there are two quotes that moved me, and I've linked you to a video as well. The type of librarians who are thriving most consistently in the digital era are those who have found a way to operate as a node in a network of libraries and librarians. They are agents of change, actively creating the future instead of constantly reacting to it. And libraries will be able to thrive and innovate in a networked, digital, and mobile era only if they adopt the collaborative approach of building shared platforms. Libraries as platforms, ideally free and open platforms, must be a core part of library infrastructure in the future. If libraries do not make this shift, the companies that already have figured it out, search engines, social networks, even doll companies, will play a bigger role than libraries in the shaping of democracy in our digital future. And our two projects, although they may not have had the kind of impact that John Palfrey is urging us to have, represent our digital voice, the importance of scaling out our instruction, the importance of the influence of the information professional. Very few people are standing up for things like intellectual freedom, for privacy, for information ethics in this world in the way that librarians are doing it. Those are the banners we're supposed to, we're mandated to wave by our professional ethics, our professional values, and our professional organizations. And so combining our digital skills with this mindset and these our values can be really powerful, but only if we really think of our profession as not just sitting behind a desk and doing whatever work we're assigned for the day, but really think about this job and our role in the information world as a profession and as a serious kind of mission. Let's also take a minute to revisit Virginia Tucker. If you remember back to week 1, we read about and we watched a webinar about her 4 threshold concepts that relate to search expertise. As you draw a picture of the information landscape as you now perceive it for the reflection this week, think about Tucker's 4 threshold concepts. In what way do you differently understand the information environment? In what way do you differently view index structures and retrieval algorithms? In what way do you have a new capacity for using or being fluent in search vocabularies, the language that we've introduced over the course of all these weeks? And that language, of course, is connected to our strategies. And then the notion of concept fusion. In what way can you now integrate those three threshold concepts using strategies like visioning or anticipating what your next moves are going to be in the middle of the search process, being light on one's feet, search feet, that is. It's a sense of agility, being able to dance agilely and change direction when needed. And in what way have you perhaps experienced a profound ontological shift? In what way do you now categorize yourself or perceive yourself as a searcher or an information professional? I'm hoping that you'll be able to address some of these things in that picture or your reflection. I didn't include essential questions at the beginning of this talk. I thought I'd add them here at the end. And I think the essential questions in this last week are less questions and more calls to action. So I wanted to ask you, what types of networks will you build as a professional? How will you go out there and solve problems for the communities you serve? How will you ensure access and equity? How will you preserve what needs to be preserved and bridge participation gaps and silos? What shared visions are we all working toward as information professionals? What big dreams will you build? And in what ways will you hit the start button? In what ways will you lead and will you innovate? And I also hope that you've been thinking for quite some time about this question. How do you plan to keep up? How do you plan to keep ahead of the other folks you work with, your community, so that you can lead and guide them in the world of search? How do you plan to pursue your own personal professional development? And I want you to continue to think as you move through your professional life. Why does search matter? And why do you matter as an information professional? I wish you the very best as you move further in your career. I've enjoyed our time together. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the discussion actively this week, our final week together. And I also really look forward to reading your reflections and seeing how you think of yourself right now as a searcher in this vast information landscape. I've enjoyed the journey. Thanks so much for taking it with me.